Welcome, guys. Sun shining through my window here on this beautiful Monday morning. Had a bit of time to reflect now on our really hard-fought 11-point win over the Gold Coast Suns against a pretty dogged opposition. Not a great football team, the Gold Coast Suns. Played in really oppressive and difficult conditions, which at times was uncomfortable and painful. There were periods in the game where we thought it was getting a little bit out of control, but we found something. I used the analogy a few weeks back about, you remember that ad on TV where that dude says, "I just want milk that tastes like real milk." That's how I see my football club at the moment. I just want to follow a real football club that can dig in when it gets tough. And I think over the last couple of weeks, particularly on the weekend, when it got tough in those conditions, we found something. And I saw some glimpses over the last couple of weeks, some small steps in regards to intensity, in regards to leadership, and obviously individuals playing specific roles within the fabric of our football team. I've yet to see any indication or any proof at this stage to suggest that there were anything but a middle-of-the-road team. We're very impatient as supporters, and rightly so. It's been a really painful and long process, this rebuild. But we've just got to face the realities. This is a journey. It's a real journey. The expectations from the club, they put a target on their head. We've put a target on our head about playing finals football this year. We sit inside the top 8 at the moment. Would we like to stay there? Yes. Will we stay there? I say no, because I've yet to see any proof to suggest that we actually belong there. So the proof is in the pudding. Those difficult conditions, did we play good football in those difficult conditions? Probably not, but we did enough to win. So we've got to take the positives away from that. I truly believe that. I think the players can walk away from that game knowing, okay, that the effort was there. The effort was there and the leadership was there, and players, for the most part, played their role. Okay, and I think in the past, okay, they're the types of games that we have dropped, okay? And that was the worry going into this game. Could have we played better football in those conditions? Would have, for example, a Richmond or a Western Bulldogs, the top echelon teams, even Melbourne or a Port Adelaide or a West Coast Eagles, would they play better football in those conditions? Probably. They probably would have. And they would have probably won by bigger margins. But that's the reality of the situation. We are not there at this stage, okay, and we've just got to take that on board. But at the same time, we need to demand better. We need to demand from the club that we get better. And how quickly that comes, we just don't know at this stage. And we face the ultimate test, a mouth-watering contest against Port Adelaide this Saturday night at the MCG. Can't wait for it, just to benchmark it. My theme thus far this year is benchmarking us against the other 17 teams in the competition. We've failed, okay, against 3 oppositions. Okay, I'll go right back to the practice match against St Kilda. We fell short. I know it was only a practice game, but then we fell short against the reigning premier, who dropped the game against Sydney, and then we fell short against Collingwood as well, who let's face it, okay, is struggling as well. So we've seen no proof yet suggests that we're going to stay inside the top 8. We sit 7th at the moment. We'd love to stay there. But middle of the road, that's what we are, middle of the road. Am I comfortable with that? No, definitely not. But at the moment, we're just going to have to take it and just hope and pray that we do start to develop this year. We still start to develop and we still see some growth and some progress. And that for me is pretty exciting. Okay, that for me is pretty exciting. There's a myriad of reasons for where we are. Okay, there's a myriad of reasons for why. Okay, this has been a really slow process. This 6-7 year rebuild. I don't think, and this is not an excuse. Okay, I don't think injuries have helped us in any respect at all. They've played a huge part. So would we like a Caleb Marchbank? And a shout out to Marchie, who's done an ACL, coming back. Absolutely devastating for him. But would we like a Caleb Marchbank playing in a back pocket as that intercept defender? There's no doubt, that I think he would have made us a better team. But with a negative like that comes a small positive. So we unearth a rookie, Luke Parks, who, for the most part in his 2 games, has shown something, that can be worked with. And I'll talk about him shortly. Will be like a Charlie Curnow, sort of dominating in the front half, in the way the game's played thus far this year with faster ball movement. Definitely. But we see small growth, in a Jack Silvani, who probably wouldn't have got that opportunity if Charlie Curnow was playing. So we have to take the small positives from that. Would we like to see TDK, who's still out injured, playing in the ruck and leaping at the centre bounces and giving us first use? Definitely we'd love to see that, and I think he would make us a lot better team. But we're getting some games into Mark Pitnet, who I thought, for the most part, has been at least serviceable, and he's getting some valuable games under his belt, and at 24 years of age, we're hoping that there's some growth in him as well. And the same with Fisher and Martin. We'd love to have him in the team, and they would definitely make us better. But it means Gibbo, Michael Gibbons, who was definitely for my book on the fringe at the start of this year, is now getting valuable minutes as a midfielder. So we've got to take that small positives from our injuries, And who knows, maybe just like the Dogs in 2016, we can actually unearth, some real surprise packets this season. There's no doubt, there's no doubt in my mind that the 2017 draft has hurt us, It has actually hurt us, but we cannot continue to beat our head up against the wall about high draft picks that haven't worked. It's in the past now. And I'll talk about Paddy Dow, Paddy Dow is a real talking point at the moment, and obviously the form of Lockie O'Brien as well. Would we like 2 top 10 draft picks who are now in their 4th season to be not dominating, but being really, really good contributors and being, at times dynamic players? And I think this is what happens when you bank on high draft picks, to move you forward. At this stage, it hasn't worked. But once again, you've got to take the positives, or you're going to drive yourself fucking crazy if you don't. So I see the positives, I see the fact that Lockie Fogarty's come in from the same draft, and has shown, he wasn't great on the weekend, but the start to his season's been really impressive. So we've found one there. And then I see a Matthew Cottrell. So I see Lockie O'Brien, a top 10 draft pick, running up and down the wing, delivering it on his left foot and being a really good contributor. It hasn't worked. But I see a Matthew Cottrell coming into the team, and I don't think I've seen a winger at our football club work as hard as Matthew Cottrell in a very, very long time. He's a very, very unique player, and I think we should really be happy with what he's provided thus far. So I see that small positive. And I hear Justin Lepich talk about, and I know he got a bit of flack from Carlton supporters about the fact that Richmond weren't interested in Lockie O'Brien because he just didn't fit what they needed. He didn't fit that prototype of a Richmond player. And maybe it's true. Maybe we did get it wrong. But we move forward. Maybe Matthew Cottrell is the prototype, the type of player that we should be looking for. So for me, that is exciting. I think he's really added something to us, and he's got a massive opportunity on the big stage, Matthew Cottrell, against Port Adelaide this weekend. And I can't wait to see the way he performs on the MCG. I just think he works very, very hard defensively. And I think his ability just to run out games, and I thought he was pivotal. Not just him, but also the fitness of Walshy as well. I think them 2 players are going to hold us in pretty good stead moving forward. So let's not go too crazy, okay? Paddy, okay, it hasn't worked this year for him, okay? He had a good pre-season. I'm hearing things, you know, he hasn't been developed properly. Maybe he hasn't, but I get the sense that I think we have put a lot of work into Paddy Dow, and it just hasn't worked out thus far. And there's no harm in Paddy going back to the VFL, a really good standard of football to find some confidence. There's no use playing him if he's not performing. He needs to go back, and it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world for Paddy Dow, and it's definitely not the end of the world for Lockie O'Brien. So there's huge question marks there, and that stagnates our development because we now have to bring in a Matthew Cottrell, who's now himself, okay? I don't know how many games Cottrell's played. He wouldn't have played more than 15. He needs to find his feet now, okay, at the higher level. So we need to get gains into him. So it becomes a bit like a vicious circle in that regards. As far as the game goes from each line, I think a lot of credit, okay, and let's put it into context, inferior opposition, okay, inferior opposition, albeit dogged opposition. And I think Dale Amos, I'm pretty sure Dale Amos is still in charge of the defensive unit. I think over the last couple of weeks, there's been some significant improvement in the way we're set up defensively. There's no doubt that Luke Parks, I think, has been a real find, and he's another one you bring in 2 games into his career. He's still got to find his feet. But what Parks will do, he's been able to release Liam Jones and Jacob Wiedering, who can lock down their opponents early, get on top, and then become real dynamic intercept defenders. And I think Parks is so disciplined, and he's so hard, and he's so team-orientated that it's going to work. He's going to have some ups and downs, there's no doubt about that. But I think with time, okay, he's going to be a really good asset for us. And it's just like this little diamond in the rough, okay? A little diamond in the rough that we've found, okay? You find these rookies, and it's something we've been really, really poor at for a long time, okay? For a long time. But suddenly we've found Cottrell, okay, rookie. Suddenly we've found Luke Parks, rookie. And then you chuck in Gibbo, and Gibbo's growth this year has been significant, okay, rookie. So I think from that perspective it was good. But I've liked the fact that Plowman, and I don't know if this has just been coincidence, but he seems to be playing a little bit higher up the ground and not being sucked defensively into deep in defence, which has enabled him to become a lot more confident, okay? And I think his ball use has been pretty good. And I liked his game. I liked Lockie Plowman's game. I think SBS over the last couple of weeks has been really good. I know we've criticised the fact that he's a defender. Would have we liked SBS to become a dynamic midfielder and add to that midfield mix, which is still very much a work in progress? Yes. But at the moment, we're starting to see, okay, SBS takes some real steps, okay? He looks confident. He keeps his feet. He uses the ball well. And defensively, okay, you cannot criticise his intent and his ability to lock down on a small forward. And I think for me, one of the most pleasing things over the last couple of weeks has been the confidence of Sam Doherty. Just aerially, I think he's starting to get back to what he was sort of like back before he did his knee, when he just had that confidence to go back with the flight of the ball and to really back himself in the air. Once again, though, the test will come. Okay, the test will come against quality opposition, and let's see how a defence stacks up. But that's been a real plus over the last couple of weeks. The midfield for me is still very, very, very much a work in progress. And on the weekend, it was about digging in really difficult conditions. The fact that Pitnet won the hit-outs, but we were beaten in the clearance is a little bit concerning. And for the first time, as I predicted, okay, in the previews, the first time we've seen Sam Walsh, Took Miller went to him early, and it took him a while to work into the game. But the beauty of Sam Walsh is his superior work ethic to pretty much anyone else on the ground enabled him just to will himself constantly into the game. Just keep willing and willing. And the same with Cripper. Okay, I think just he kept working and working and working. It's about getting the right mix in there. So, okay, Dow goes out. There's no doubt Dow will probably go out of the team, but it's about getting that right mix back into the middle. So what does that look like? I just don't think you can say, okay, drop Dow and bring Kennedy in, because I just don't think it works. Okay, it just doesn't work like that. So it will be a Zach Williams. Okay, so you need that balance. You need the balance of speed and power versus someone who's really good at the contest. So that's going to be important. But I like the fact that we are starting to get numbers through the middle, but it's still not enough as far as I'm concerned, because when we come up against the likes of Port Adelaide this weekend, who bat so deep in the midfield, I think we're going to see us just maybe fall a little bit away through that area. Forward line, okay, difficult conditions. I thought we were a little bit cute for the most of the game. I thought it took us a long while to adjust to those conditions. It was almost played in we thought the conditions were dry when virtually it was a wet night. And I thought we tried to go too cute inside forward 50. We tried to hit up that lead. It wasn't until we went a little bit longer and enabled Harry to at least make a contest with Levi that we started to reap the benefits. I thought Murph, okay, and hasn't he copped some fucking criticism? Hasn't Murph and look, I'll take it on board as well. I didn't think the Betts and Murphy combination would work, and it still mightn't work, okay, but I thought Eddie looked sharp. He looks the sharpest I've seen him for a while. And I think Murph is that. Takes some time. It takes some time to learn, and he's such a smart player, but to learn the fact that he's no longer a midfielder and he's that sort of starvation half-forward flanker who needs to make the most of his opportunities. And every possession of Murph he makes count, okay? And those 2 goals were just quality and came at crucial times. They really did. The one in the first quarter and then I think the one in the third, or the one in the second, came at really important times. So I really liked the game of Mark Murphy. And I thought, you know what, for the most part, I thought Harry, Jesus Christ, those conditions for a tall forward are just really difficult. He looked a little bit lackluster, really, and he's playing on just a dour defender in Sam Collins, just a dour defender. But after half-time, Harry worked into the game. He really did. He led up hard, took some marks on the lead, up the ground, ended up kicking a couple of goals himself. I know he got one from a Jack Silvani tackle, but he missed one himself. So he finishes up with 2 goals in a really low-scoring game. I thought was a positive. Wiedering and Jones, for me, that combination in the back half, that is nearly just about perfect at the moment. I think we should be really happy with the way them two are playing as leaders of this football club. I think the big question mark for me has been a lot about the way this football club wants to play and be seen. And I think leadership is so important. And Jones and Wiedering, that combination down back, it just to me looks really solid, a solid foundation, which is going to hold us in great stead, hopefully moving forward. Look, painful watch. I'm not content at all of where we're at in that regard, but you've got to take this win and move on. And I'm sure the players are in exactly the same boat. They would be fully aware, but what they're producing at the moment is probably not good enough. As much externally they would like to tell us that everything's on track, I think behind the scenes we've just got to understand that there are problems. Okay, there are problems which are trying to be solved, and it might take a little bit longer than what we hope for. So I will continue. Okay, I'll continue to critique each performance on its merits. So we face one of the best teams in the competition this weekend, which I will preview over the next coming days. But for now, we take the win. We take that 11-point win. We sit inside the top 8 and we move on to next week.